Hello, beautiful people. I am Krystle of Krystle I Am. Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, I'm glad you're here. And if you are returning, I'm very grateful that you're still here. So from the title of the video, you can already tell that I'm going to be sharing some reflections from my 30s. I have been in full reflection mode. It's the end of the year. I usually am very intentional about just looking back on the year, things I have learned, things I've struggled with, things I no longer want to struggle with, areas that I've grown in. But I started thinking about just my 30s as a whole, and I want to share some of those revelations with you. So before we get into those revelations, let's just do a quick trip down memory lane. So in 2014, that's when I turned 30. I actually celebrated in LA with one of my very best friends, Carla. Had a great time. I lived in Virginia at the time and I worked in DC, and I ended up moving to Austin, Texas for work. A lot has transpired from 2014 obviously to 2021, personally, professionally. So we'll touch on a few of those things as we go through the revelations. So the first one is embrace every season. Now, this can be applied to so many different scenarios, situations, right? But specifically when it comes to singleness, I have really learned to embrace my singleness, and I think it makes a lot of people uncomfortable. So as I've said before, and I will probably tell y'all from time to time, I am 37. I am not married. I don't have any children. And so that prompts a lot of people to give me comments about my relationship status. So I get questions about, do you want to get married? Do you want to have kids? When are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? Sometimes it's said in love, and sometimes there is definitely a hint of judgment. I am a firm believer that every season of life requires something new of you. So if I ever did get married, if I ever did become a mother, that is going to require new things of me. And that is why I strongly believe that whatever season we are in right now, we should fully embrace it and fully learn the lessons that God intends for us to learn in the season that we're in. So I am in a relationship right now, but for quite some time, I was single, okay? I wasn't going on no dates, nothing. And this is not a video on dating and relationships. I'll do another one on that. But, as I've gotten older, I've just realized and come to the conclusion that I am where I'm supposed to be. And I am not going to allow anyone to shame me or make me feel like I am less than because I'm not in a certain stage of life. And I will say this, if you are, feeling pressure from family and friends, if you are being shamed by anybody for not being in a certain place in this very moment, set some boundaries. Our personal joy and contentment is our job. And so I strongly believe. So the moral of the story is embrace the season that you are in. That's personally, professionally, in every area of our lives. I just believe that joy and contentment is an inside job. And we don't want to miss the intended lessons in the season that we're in. So the second one is practice self-love. So throughout my entire 20s and in the first years of my 30s, I didn't practice a whole lot of self-love. I settled in relationships. I settled for certain things at my job. I just was not a very good advocate for myself because I didn't see my worth. And so I made a lot of decisions, especially when it comes to my heart, that reflected my lack of self-love. So I have done a lot of soul searching, a lot of reflecting, especially in my early 30s when I had this epiphany that hey sis, you need to do better. You need to treat yourself better. You need to demand respect. You need to speak up for yourself. And so I took time to reflect and Part of that process included a lot of writing for me, a lot of spending time with God, working on my relationship with God. And, I had this realization that if I didn't treat myself better, I'd fall for the okie doke every time. And self-love doesn't just apply to, I guess you can say, romantic relationships. It really applies to how we move through life. And so as I've, learned the value of self-love and learned the value of me as a person, I find that I speak up for myself more. I don't accept just anything from anyone. So it definitely applies to friendships, to just relationships in general. And one thing that I have discovered is that when you love another person from a place of confidence, it looks and feels completely different from a relationship where you just don't see your value. So my self-love definitely evolved from taking a hard look in the mirror, like I said, spending more time with God and really trying to be intentional about having a relationship with God. I often will say that falling in love with God helped me fall in love with me, because he loves me, flaws and all. God literally knows every single thing about me, and yet he still loves me. And so I feel like God's love towards me gives me permission to give myself some grace and to not focus on the not so good things, but to really define myself based on the things that make me who I am. So the next one is take advantage of therapy. So for years and years and years, I thought about going to therapy. I can't even give you a reason as to why I didn't actually do it. But this year, I started therapy, and it has been the best thing that I could have done for myself in 2021. Talking about my journey of self-love, I could have really benefited from therapy in my early 30s, and can't go back in time, but I strongly, strongly encourage you that if you have not tried therapy, give it a try. And you don't have to go to therapy because something is wrong. It has just been very life-changing for me personally. I've discovered things about myself. I've come to realizations I don't think I would have come to had I not started the therapy process. And I lucked out in that my first therapist was amazing. I've heard people say, it took them quite some time to find someone that they were able to feel comfortable with. But I strongly encourage you to go to therapy. And I wish that I would have started sooner, but it's definitely going to be something that I continue to do. So the next one is do more of what brings you joy. If you follow me on social media, specifically Instagram, then you know that I speak a lot about fighting for my joy and making my joy a priority. There have been times in my life where I completely let life and life circumstances rob me of my joy. And I have learned in my 30s that there are just going to be things that are completely out of my control. And it has been a process, a process that continues of just learning to trust God and trust his timing. And no matter what's going on in my life, I really, really try to seek out joy. Life is very short, and I don't want to look back on my life when I'm an old lady, hopefully, and see that I let life bring me down. For me, the quality of life that I want to live requires joy. So no matter what's going on at work, no matter what may be going on just in life, because there's always going to be something that comes up, I just know that when I look back on my life as a old little lady, I want to know that I smiled. I want to know that I laughed. I want to know that I was intentional about creating memories with the people that I care about. So for me, the lesson is, I have one life to live on this earth. And I want to look back on my life and know that life's happenings did not steal my joy. Because again, there have been times in my life where I did. And don't get me wrong, I am not an expert by any means on joy. I mean, just ask my mom. I call my mom about everything. And life gets very heavy and frustrating at times. And it's hard. It's hard to always have joy. But for me, the goal is to at least try. I might have my moments, but I've got to get back. I've got to get back up, and I have to practice gratitude, because for me, joy and gratitude go hand in hand. So more joy, more joy, more joy. Do things that bring you joy as best as you possibly can. So let's talk about setting boundaries. So an outcome from therapy was this realization that I am horrible with setting boundaries. And it has been something that I really have to work on, because I'm just not good at it at all. There are two areas of my life specifically where I have not set boundaries. One being with work. I have had positions over the years where all I did was work. I'd get off work, maybe go to the gym, come home and then work for hours, or I'd work on the weekends. And in my current position, I don't really have that issue. But what I do know is that point forward, boundaries will be set. Because if I let myself, because I do work from home, I will stay on the computer later than I need to be. And I'm most definitely going to be doing a better job point forward in my life of setting boundaries in any position that I have at work. So another area that I know I need to do a better job of setting boundaries is when it comes to my decision making. I tend to make decisions that make other people happy, and I kind of disregard what I want. And I know that point forward, I have to be very intentional about making decisions for Krystle. Like, forget about other people's happiness. What about my happiness? So if you struggle in this area, you're not by yourself. It's something that I have to continue to work on, because I've been this way for a very long time. And I need to do better. So the next one is a really good one, and it is choose people who choose you. So in my early 30s, I had this epiphany that I would no longer be anyone's option. That goes hand in hand with my whole self-love journey. I really came to the conclusion that I needed to end certain connections with certain people, because I was an option to them. But meanwhile, they were a whole priority to me. So I cut some people off. And sometimes in life, you have to do that. Thinking about the whole choose people who choose you, a couple of years ago, I realized that I had certain friendships where I was the only one reaching out. So if I didn't reach out, I never heard from them. And I made the conscious decision that I was no longer, I almost felt like I was forcing myself on them. And so I made the conscious decision to not reach out anymore. And I can tell you, years have passed and I have not heard from those people. And the funny thing is, we still run into each other. There's no bad blood. There's no issue whatsoever. But I realized that I was giving so much to certain relationships and I wasn't getting anything back. And that wasn't okay. I am a strong believer that if someone crosses your mind, reach out, see how they're doing, but I am not going to constantly be reaching out, and I'm the only person that's breathing any life into a relationship with someone. I think that friendships, relationships require a certain level of reciprocation. And if there isn't any reciprocation, someone is eventually going to feel neglected and feel like they're not getting what it is that they need in that relationship. And so choose people who choose you. That's all I can say. Choose people who choose you. So the last revelation I'm going to share is time waits on no one. I feel like I am making up for lost time, even by starting this YouTube channel, which is something that I started years ago and I did not, keep it going. But there's so many things that I could have started such a long time ago. And again, I feel like I am making up for lost time now. For me, I don't want to leave this earth not having given my all to every goal, to every dream that I have for myself, because I know that I have it in me to do those things. And I heard a pastor once reference that, so many people leave this earth having never seen their purpose realized, having never truly walked in their purpose for one reason or another. And so they left this earth not having shared their gifts, their talents, their dreams with the world. And I don't want that to be me. If you're watching this, especially if you're in your 20s, but really no matter what age you are, if you have air in your lungs, do it. And do it now. Because I don't have a whole lot of fears per se, but one thing I do not want to see when I look back on my life is that I did not try. There's absolutely no failure in trying. And time just waits on no one. And, I've told myself, and I tell y'all, if it applies to you, to just do it scared. Do it if nobody supports you. If you need somebody to support you, I'll support you. Like, just do it. I'm just really in a place in life where it's like, it's time to leave it all on the table. I know that God has given me talents to do things. I know that He has called me to do certain things, and it's just time to do it, because here today, gone tomorrow. If I've learned nothing from the last 2 years with everything that has gone on in the world, is that we have to seize the moment and go after the things that bring us joy, that bring us fulfillment. We really have to be intentional about living the lives that God put us on this earth to live. And that won't look the same for all of us, but it's try it season. Do it season. Get out your comfort zone and do it season. Just go after it. I'm going after it, scared and all. It's just time to go after things. So those are just some of the reflections, revelations I've had from my experiences in my 30s. I will likely do a part 2 to this video, but in the meantime, please meet me in the comments and tell me if you resonated with anything that I shared today. And also share a lesson that you've learned, that life has taught you, because it might help somebody else. So thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I will talk to you soon.